Hello, and thanks so much for joining us for this episode of our webinar series. This one comes during another challenging time in Australia. We're thinking about our teachers across the country who are juggling remote learning as well as their own lockdown situations. We are here for you, we are inspired by you, and we wish you all a speedy return to your classrooms and to your students. I'm joined by wellness coach for teachers, Jessica Mason. Jess will provide practical strategies and advice to support your emotional health and wellbeing as educators. Jessica is an experienced teacher herself, and she's on a mission to support teachers to live more mindful, calm, and balanced lives. This webinar will run for roughly 45 minutes, and Jess is going to cover these topics: advice for cultivating a more mindful, calm, and balanced life, mindfulness techniques you can use at home or at school, tips to support teachers to start on their own wellbeing journey, everyday tips to reduce burnout and improve personal wellbeing, and practical strategies and advice for teacher wellbeing. With over 7 years of experience in the teaching profession, Jessica understands the effects that stress can have in the classroom and beyond. Welcome, Jess, and thanks for being here today. I'm going to hand straight over to you.
Thanks, Bron. I am so excited to come to you with some tips and tricks today on how to go from surviving to thriving. We're going to talk about some really practical tools for teacher wellbeing, but the place where I really want to start is our beliefs, because so often we just want the practical tools, the strategies, the tips and tricks that will make us feel well and nourished and like we're not just clawing our way to the holidays. But if we don't believe that things can actually be different and things can actually change, then really we just set ourselves up for putting these tips and tricks into practice for a couple of weeks and then them falling by the wayside because we don't actually believe that things can change. So that's where we're going to start, and that's where I feel like is of such benefit to my clients that come to me. If we really get clear on the starting point and what their beliefs are, what they actually feel is possible for them, then we can throw those out. We can choose again, choose some new fresh beliefs that will support us to move forward, and then we can start implementing those really practical tips. So you might want to do this during this call, or you might want to set some space and time aside to sit with your journal and really go through what it is that you believe about teacher wellbeing and what is possible for you. So let's start with this. Let's start with our beliefs. Let's start to excavate what's underneath. So some really good questions to ask yourself. If you feel like you might have some limiting beliefs in place here, do I believe that it's possible to thrive as a teacher? Like, do I really believe that that's possible? Or am I looking around me at reference points in my school or my colleagues or on the teachergram, and am I thinking, I don't actually think that it's possible in this career? And it's okay either way. It's okay if you, at this point, actually don't believe that it's possible, because we're going to switch that, don't worry. But just getting clear on that, because that's going to prevent you from possibly moving forward. Another question is, have I unknowingly adopted the beliefs of those around me? And if so, what are those beliefs? So maybe you have been listening to different conversations in the staff room. Maybe you've seen really experienced teachers feel the burnout still after all these years, and you've adopted their stories about what it means to be well as a teacher and what it means to thrive and if it's even possible. So just getting clear on whether you've picked up stories along the way or whether the beliefs and stories that you're telling yourself are actually yours. Another really good question is, do I feel worthy of experiencing more? And this is a really deep one, but sometimes we don't actually feel like it's something that we can access. Maybe that teacher over there can access that, but maybe we don't feel worthy of actually feeling good and feeling well and thriving. So that's a really important question to ask ourselves. Another one is, am I worried about what my colleagues will think of me if I begin to show up differently? So often we connect with our colleagues and the teachers, next door on a basis of, not feeling great or not not coping or just surviving. That's a way that we connect with our teachers and our, colleagues. And so are you worried that if you start to show up feeling nourished, feeling well, thriving, are you worried about what that will do to your relationships? And this is a really common concern that my clients have and that I've had as well. Like, what if I start showing up in a really positive way? Will that mean that I can't relate to my bestie next door? And, you know, little hint here, it always makes other people feel inspired and gives them permission to show up differently if we do. But before we do that and before we make those steps, it can feel like we might be outcast in some way. And that's a very valid fear to have and a very common fear to have among teachers. And one last question is, am I open to shifting my view on teacher wellbeing? So maybe you have accessed this webinar because you don't actually think it's possible, and you're watching because you have this hope that it is, but you don't think it's possible, and you at this stage you haven't actually been open to experiencing something new. So maybe it's time to start to shift those beliefs, and now that you're really clear on them, it's going to be much easier. So let's go through those again. The questions that you can ask yourself are: do I believe that it's possible to thrive as a teacher? Have I unknowingly adopted the beliefs of others? And if so, what are they? Do I feel worthy of experiencing more and showing up as a thriving teacher? Am I worried about what my colleagues will think of me if I begin to show up differently? And am I open to shifting my view on teacher wellbeing? So getting really clear on what your answers to those questions are will show you your starting point and where you're at. So let's say you've sat down, you've given yourself the time and the space to go through those questions, find your answers, understand what your limiting beliefs around teacher wellbeing are. Now it's time to choose again. So we don't want to dwell in that space for too long. If we've realized that, actually I have all these limiting beliefs that I didn't realize were holding me back, now is the time to take inspired action and choose again. So I've listed out some possible new beliefs that you might like to try on. It's not very often that we see teachers going from, I'm just surviving and this is so hard and I'm feeling really burnt out, to I'm thriving and I feel amazing. So there's often some steps we need to take to get there. So try some of these on for size, sort of as new beliefs, new affirmations, new ways of viewing teacher wellbeing. So here are some possible new beliefs for you. I'm open to things being better than they were before. So like I said, this isn't about going straight from surviving to thriving. This is about starting to be open to a new way, and maybe being that reference point for your school of this is a new way that we can show up. So I'm open to things being better than they were before. I'm open to this term unfolding more effortlessly than I first imagined. Sometimes it's like we've already decided how a term is going to play out. We've already decided that it's going to be hard. We've already decided that by week 5 or 6, we're going to be exhausted. We've already decided if it's a report term that we're going to be overwhelmed. So a possible new belief is I'm open to this term unfolding more effortlessly than I first imagined. Being open to feeling better than you have before, being open to, new ways of taking care of yourself, or maybe new ways that your colleagues and yourself show up. So just being open to that. I'm worthy of thriving in my role. So we spoke about this worthiness piece before of, do I even feel worthy of experiencing more? So I'm worthy of thriving in my role. And this is available to everybody, not just, those that don't have kids and have more time. It's not just available to those who've been in education for years and years who might be more organized. It's open to everybody. We can all thrive in our role, whatever that looks like to you. Another possible new belief is seeing me thrive will open the door for my colleagues to do the same. And I think this is one of the most beautiful things I see about teachers prioritizing their well-being, is that they give permission for their colleagues and their teacher besties to do the same. And the ripple effect that I see is so amazing. Every time that one teacher steps up and chooses to live differently and to show up in their role differently, it gives permission for their entire school, their entire community to do the same. And that ripple effect is just so wonderful. And the last new possible belief you might want to try on is I prioritize myself and my well-being. So just, repeating those new beliefs to yourself every day, maybe writing them down, getting really comfortable with them as your new belief system and what it means to thrive as an educator. So we no longer have those limiting beliefs holding us back. We're open to these new possibilities. And this is where we can start to implement all of those really practical steps. So we don't want to go straight to the implementation of, having a bath and drinking more water. Like, they're great things to do, but it's almost like they're one-off helpers. And we really want to make sure that we're laying a really strong foundation and that our roots are really strong to build well-being from this place. So hopefully that was helpful. What I really want to go through now is physical well-being tips that can support you, emotional well-being tips, and then also energetic well-being tips. Because I find that when we really look at all of these factors, then we're really supporting ourselves instead of just really physical things, which we tend to go to a lot, or we tend to go to, over the top positivity and everything's great when really underneath we may not be feeling that way. So let's look at physical well-being tips first. I've got 3 tips for each of these elements, and some of them I'm going to take you through together. We'll all do this together, because when we practice it first with other people and we're guided through something, then we're more likely to show up and do it by ourselves rather than just being given, here's a whole heap of dot points on ways that you can support yourself. I know when I'm given something like that, or when other teachers are told, here, add this to your to-do list, we're not very likely to take it on, because when you tell a teacher, hey, here's something else for you to do, it's like, oh, something else? My to-do list is already, overwhelmingly long. So we're going to go through some of these together so that you can feel the benefits, and then you'll be more likely to implement that into your daily life, not just as a teacher, but also as a person. So a lot of these, they'll just be supportive for anyone in any industry. Some of them are very teacher related, but I say this because a lot of you will have families, and it can, when we bring our spouses, our partners, our children into this as well and make it something that's part of the culture of your family, 1, you're more likely to continue doing it, but 2, it doesn't just become something that, oh, this is just for teachers. It's like everybody can thrive, and that ripple effect that we spoke about before can be activated, and we can see the effect that it has on everybody in our community. So physical well-being tips. I'm going to talk about tuning into your senses. I'm going to talk about practicing deep breathing and also decluttering your spaces. So let's start with tuning into your senses. This is probably one of the easiest and most effortless strategies that you can do to really start to implement mindfulness into your daily life as a teacher. And I know when I did this for myself, things radically changed. So I want you to visualize, you're walking to the photocopier and you're very focused on what you're doing, and you're thinking about the assignment that you need to mark, the report comments you need to do, the email you need to send. I know you can relate to this, where that we're very just focused on the tasks that we need to do. So walking to the photocopier, maybe you do this while you're on duty, your mind's going a million miles an hour, all of these different situations. So instead of just living from up here, living from our mind and not being tuned into our body or our surroundings, we're going to use our senses to mindfully tune in. And you can do this right now wherever you are. So I want you to take a really deep breath, and let's do this together. And exhaling. And I want you to tune in to 3 things that you can see first. So just mindfully tuning into 3 things you can see. And after that, 3 things that you can hear. just acknowledging these things. They don't need to come with a story of why they're there, what they're doing. And now three things either that you can smell or that you can feel. And I give you the option because often in schools, three things you can smell. If we're in early childhood or maybe, teenagers around us, it's not the most pleasant of senses to tune into, but possibly feel. So that feeling of your clothing on your skin or the wind against your hair or something like that. So what I'm guessing is that after you've done that, your brain has started to slow down. The thoughts have started to slow down. Maybe you're breathing a little bit slower. And it's almost like this moment opens up to you. So instead of just being a moment where you have to get a task done, where you have to photocopy something, where you have to support a child because they've grazed their knee and you have to get a band-aid, you're really opening up this moment and it feels like time expands. And it can even make us fall more in love with life again. And I know that sounds really like profound and big, but school becomes less of a series of tasks or a series of lessons and more of an experience that we're excited about. So this can be done even when you've come home from school and you're on a walk. Three things you can hear, three things you can see, three things you can feel. Just really using your senses to tune into the present moment. And you can even do this during a lesson, like say you have a year group where your students are working independently on something, you're walking around and roaming to support them as they work. Three things I can hear, three things I can see, three things I can feel or smell. And it really is this flick of a switch and it brings us back to that present moment. And that is so helpful when we're in a space of surviving or of overwhelm. Like, let's, instead of being, 10 steps down the road in our mind with a task that we need to do, let's just come back to this moment now. So tuning into our senses is a really easy, effortless, free way to support yourself physically with your well-being. The second one is practicing deep breathing, and it sounds so easy. And it sounds like, oh, well, of course I could do that. But do we do it? So often I've been teaching for 8 years now, and I'll get to the end of a teaching day and I'll be like, do this big sigh because we've been doing this shallow breathing, this breathing from our chest throughout the entire day, and we don't realize until we have that break. So creating some sort of prompt for yourself. Maybe it's in between every lesson. Maybe it's after recess and lunch with your students. You have this breathing session. Whatever that prompt is. Maybe it's a poster on your back wall. I've heard of different teachers making it like a specific student. Whenever they see that student, they practice deep breathing. So it's just making these little, prompts throughout our day to take those deep breaths so that we don't feel like we're living from this space of this shallow breathing and we're just trying to get to a time where we can let it all out. Like, let's let it out during the day so that we're not waiting to thrive. We're creating those moments of thriving throughout our day. So that's a really easy one as well, and one that I really invite you to bring your students into. So with my students, I would often, after recess, after lunch, we're putting a meditation on and we're deep breathing. And it helped me. And initially it was for me so that I could, have that time to relax and get myself into the energy of the next lesson. But over time, it became for them as well. And they would ask for it. And when we would come in after lunch, they would be like, okay, can we have relaxation time now? And so making it the culture of your classroom rather than something that you're just trying to fit in around school can be really helpful as well. And the third physical well-being tip is to declutter your spaces. And I'm not just meaning spaces in your classroom, but spaces at home, because I know when I feel overwhelmed, it's often because my desk is overwhelming to look at, or at home, I haven't had time to clean and so it's overwhelming to look at. So it's no wonder that our minds feel overwhelmed as well when we're looking at spaces that need decluttering. And, the holidays can be a perfect time to start to do that. So our students, again, we can bring them in. I know every single one of you can think of a handful of students who just love to do jobs for you, who would absolutely love to clean the back shelves, to clean the storeroom, whatever it is, they would thrive on that. So bring them in and let them. But just taking little steps each day to declutter each of your spaces, whether that's just your desk, whether that's a space in your classroom, whether that's your office at home, whether that's your kitchen, just starting to declutter these spaces as much as you can. And I often find that, a, a couple of minutes after school of just making sure my desk is clean feels like an exhale. It feels like an exhale in my body, and like I can see a little bit more clearly. So hopefully that's helpful. That's 3 physical well-being tips you can do. So those were tuning into your senses, practicing deep breathing, and decluttering your spaces. And you'll notice, like I said before, these aren't specifically teaching related. Like, these are things that anybody could do, but are super, super useful for us as educators. All right, let's have a look at emotional well-being tips. So the 3 that I'm going to speak about are anchoring into your new beliefs, practicing journaling, and the emotional choice method. So the first one, anchoring into your new beliefs. We just went through that little session before where we got really clear on our limiting beliefs, maybe things that were holding us back, stopping us from moving forward and thriving. And then we chose again. And those old beliefs, those beliefs that you may not even have known that you had, you may have been cultivating those for 5, 10, 20, 30 plus years. Like, they've become a habit, they've become a solid foundation. And so it's going to take a little bit of time to break that habit. But what is amazing is that it doesn't take as long to break it down. So if you've had beliefs for 20 years that teaching is overwhelming, teaching is stressful, you can only feel relaxed and not overwhelmed during the holidays, that it's always going to be hard. If you've had those beliefs for 20 years, I promise you it doesn't take 20 years to rewrite them and to embody a new belief. I promise you. It may take a term, it may take a semester, but once you start to see the evidence and you start to really pocket the evidence of, hang on, things are different, things are changing, maybe I can thrive as a teacher, those new beliefs is going to start to anchor in and they'll become your foundation. So it doesn't take as long to undo a belief as it does to create one, which is great for us. So my first emotional well-being tip is really anchoring into those new beliefs. So that may look like journaling them out. It may look like reading them every morning before you go to school to really get in that headspace and, flip the switch on those old ones if they're starting to pry their way back in. It could be sharing them first with a colleague that you feel really safe with. So maybe you bring in an accountability buddy, like your teacher bestie here, and say, hey, this is what I've realized. This is what I was believing all of this time. And now I've got these new beliefs. Do you want to get on this train with me? How do you feel about, we each message each other our new beliefs every day, or we each, at the end of the day, message each other one way that we stepped into that new belief and showed up in that new way. It could be writing it or the few beliefs that you have on your mirror, in that glass texter that we all love at school, so that you're reading it every day. It could be having it as an affirmation on the back of your phone background, your phone screen, or your desktop background, whatever it might look like. Just really trying to anchor into those new beliefs. And it could also look like creating a little success inventory or an evidence log, as I like to call it. All of my clients will be like, yep, I know exactly what that is, because we all do one. You might like to get a nice little new journal, any excuse for stationery, I know. Get a little journal and start to write down evidence of all of the ways that your new beliefs are working. So say your new belief was, seeing me thrive will open the door for my colleagues to do the same. Maybe you notice one day that one of your colleagues is doing some deep breaths with their students after each session or after recess and lunch. So writing that in. and writing all of the new evidence that your beliefs are working and they're taking shape, and this new way of being is possible. And that's going to really help you to anchor into your new beliefs anytime that you find yourself going down this spiral of, oh no, like it's getting really hard again, or so and so has been working for 40 years and they said it's not possible to thrive, or you found yourself in a really bogged down negative conversation in the staff room, and you find yourself being like, oh, is this possible? You can go back to that evidence log and be like, oh, well, these are all the ways that it's possible, and this is how it's already showing up for me. And I find that this is so pivotal for my clients in that it really helps them to anchor into those new beliefs and not go back to the limiting ones that may feel safe and may feel comfortable. The second one is practicing journaling. And I know that this can seem like a big ask to some of us, but I want you to just let this be whatever feels best for you. So for some of us, it may be that we don't journal every day, and that's totally fine. But when things feel overwhelming, when our emotions feel big, when we feel like we're going back into that surviving mode, setting a 5-minute timer, getting out our journal and doing a brain dump, and literally just writing out everything that's worrying you, every task you need to do. Maybe you had a parent email that wasn't great. Maybe, everything that's on your mind, writing it out. And once that 5-minute timer goes off, switching up the energy and writing out everything that you're grateful for. Maybe you just use journaling for those times, and that is so, so supportive. Maybe you use it to write down everything that you would love to feel as a teacher, the way that you would love to show up, and you write it out like a script of that you're already living it, and you read that every day to support you to start embodying this thriving mentality. Whichever way journaling works for you, but I find that getting the thoughts out of our head, getting them onto paper, or even audio, this works for some of my clients. Maybe getting out the little, voice recorder app on our phone and just pressing play, pressing record, and speaking everything out like a brain dump, but verbally, just getting it all out. And you don't need to save it. You can delete it. You don't need to send it to anybody, but just finding ways to get all of our thoughts and our decisions and our beliefs out from in our mind and onto paper, or, verbally or through audio, can be so helpful. So whichever way journaling works for you, just try and adopt some practice that allows those thoughts to move through you instead of having the thoughts here, because decision fatigue is real, and every day we're making so many decisions. So let's not keep them there. Let's not put them in a vault and then have that be really heavy for us. Let's work through those, let go of the thoughts that we need to let go of so that we can feel fresh, and so that it feels like we're starting anew every day rather than having things piled on top of us. Because we already do with our jobs. We already have so much that we have to do. Let's not pile it on top of ourselves. Let's get it out, let's let it out, and then we'll move forward from that fresh space. And the third emotional well-being tip that I'd love to share is the emotional choice method. I don't know if it's really called this because I have literally made this up. I'm sure it has a technical name, but as I was saying before, so many of us, we wait to feel relaxed. We wait to feel calm until after school, until the weekend, until the holidays. And we can access that whenever we choose. And I know that may sound unbelievable, but let's try this together. So I want you to think about a time where you felt so joyful and you felt so excited and everything was amazing. So maybe it's like a birthday party that happened. Maybe it's the day you got married. Maybe it's the day you got your first classroom. Like, just any moment, doesn't have to be teaching related at all. Really imagine that. And I'm sure maybe a smile is coming to your lips. You can feel that buoyancy within you. You're getting really excited, and you've just accessed that without having to be in that situation. So you have accessed the feeling of joy, of thriving, of being excited without being in a physical situation that brought you that feeling. So if you can access that now, that means that you can access other feelings whenever you choose. And you don't need to wait for a situation, an external situation, to prompt that. So if you want to feel calm, if you want to feel relaxed, if you want to feel grounded, any of those emotions throughout a school day, first we need the belief that we can call that in and that we can embody that and access that. But we want to get really clear on what that feels like. So maybe if you're sitting down right now, thinking about and really feeling in your body, what does calm feel like? So maybe calm feels like taking deep breaths. Maybe calm feels like not having a furrowed brow or stress in your temples or a locked jaw. Maybe calm feels like having your feet grounded on the floor. Maybe calm feels like relaxing your belly and not holding it in. Just really feeling and embodying what calm feels like. So if you can access that now and you know what it feels like in your body, you know what it feels like in your mind, then whenever you're feeling heightened stress during school, you can access that. And it takes a little bit of practice, but knowing that you can access a feeling whenever you choose is so, so helpful and can alleviate that feeling of having to wait to feel how you want to feel. You can access that whenever you choose. So maybe starting to practice that outside of school. Maybe you're watching a press conference, because that's something we can all relate to now, and you can feel that, feeling of, I'm getting really stressed and I'm feeling overwhelmed. Remembering I can access calm whenever I choose. I can feel calm whenever I choose, and just trying it on for size, seeing how that goes, remembering, oh yes, it feels like my jaw feeling really loose. It feels like my belly expanding and not contracting. That's what calm feels like. It feels like my shoulders, not being up around my ears. It feels like my shoulders relaxing. And just seeing if you can bring that sense of calm to any moment that you choose. And then expanding that and expanding that and expanding that and, elongating that time. So that's my third emotional well-being tip. So they were anchoring into your new beliefs, practicing journaling in any way that feels good for you, and emotional choice method, knowing that you can feel any way that you want to feel in any moment and embody that. My third little realm of well-being that I want to speak about is energetic well-being tips. So often we look at physical things we can do or emotional ways that we're feeling, and we don't think about our energy or our nervous system. And this is such a big part of feeling burnt out and feeling like we're just surviving, is our energy and our nervous system. So I really want to speak about that today. So the 3 tips that I'm going to share on energetic well-being are daily transition activities, getting out the hypothetical popcorn, and I'll speak a bit more about that in a minute if you're like, what are you talking about, Jess? And grounding practices. So the first one, daily transition activities. This is something that I do not know how I ever lived without, and can radically change how you feel, especially at the end of each day. So hands up if you've ever finished a school day. Maybe you're getting that afternoon headache forming, you're feeling really stressed, you know, you're feeling really tense, and you come home and all you feel like doing is just putting on Netflix and having a glass of wine. Now, I'm not saying that's bad. I'm not saying Netflix and wine isn't a good thing, because it's definitely needed in some instances. But so often we can give into that feeling of, oh, I've got no more energy, and we bring the energy of our school day to our home life. And I don't know about you, but the energy that I want to feel at home is a lot more calm than the energy that I bring to school. Because at school, I'm showing up for my students and there's more of this energetic feeling. But when I get home, it's like I want to feel relaxed, and I want to feel like not the total opposite of being at school, because we can bring that calm to school, as we just spoke about, but it's a different energy that I want to bring to my home, and I'm sure you can relate to that. So a daily transition activity can really support us to and prevent us from not just bringing the same energy we are embodying at school into our home life. So transition activities could look like, when you get home, going out for a walk to really shake up that energy and let your body know, okay, we've switched out of work mode and now we're into home mode. It could look like having a shower and visualizing the worries and stresses of your day, going down through, the drain with the water. It could look like doing a meditation. It could look like journaling that we spoke about before. It could look like just taking some mindful breaths. It could look like practicing energy hygiene, which I like to do a lot, which is where I close my eyes and I take some deep breaths and I visualize my energy like balls of light coming back to me, any energy that I've deposited into other people throughout the day. And we don't need to get into a story of, well, I spoke to that student and then I had that meeting and then I spoke to my principal. We don't need to worry about where our energy's gone, but just visualizing your energy like balls of light coming back to you and filling you back up. And your cells are dancing again and you're feeling revitalized. And this small 5-minute practice can make such a difference to feeling lit up again in your day. And this isn't so that we can continue to be productive, although we may want to be, especially during report season, but just so that we can experience the joy of our home life again, rather than, oh, like I just feel like I need to have a nap and I just need to conk out and I'll wait to the weekend to do something that feels exciting for me. So daily transition activities are so helpful, and they can change day to day. Sometimes you might feel like going for a walk, listening to a podcast. Another day you might feel like dancing it out and, letting your body know, all right, I'm home and let's have some fun this afternoon. Or, meditation, reading a book, having a shower, whatever it is, thinking of something that you can do each day to transition from work life to home life is so, so supportive. So that's number one. Number two, get out the hypothetical popcorn. This is something that can really support our energy if we feel like we really get pulled in to the energy of others. So if you're an empath, this might be, ringing some bells here. But, say there are those times when there's drama going on at school, or, things are happening with other staff members. We may not even be directly involved. Maybe you're in a staff meeting and, things are being said, there's some tension and you feel like you take that on even if it has nothing to do with you. I want you to start visualizing or imagining what is going on outside of you, like a movie. So when you watch a movie, you know that they are characters on the screen and that they're not part of your life. It doesn't impact your life. You're just watching and you're taking it in, and it feels quite entertaining. And so sometimes, to protect our own energy, we need to imagine what's going on around us like a movie. So just, sitting back and being like, oh, that was interesting. I didn't expect that to happen. Or, oh, that's interesting that they said that. Like, I wonder what's going to happen next. And not taking it all in as, meaning something to us or affecting our lives. Just getting out the hypothetical popcorn, watching what's happening, and then, being part of it, or giving ideas or sharing when we need to. And I think this is so helpful for those of us who, it drains our nervous system and it drains our energy to fight other people's fights or to be involved in things that don't actually involve us. So get out the hypothetical popcorn and watch it like a movie is so helpful. And the last one is grounding. So grounding is such an important thing to do, to ground into your energy. And we can do it together now so you can get kind of a handle on it. So this is my last little tip. So wherever you are, just feeling all of the points of contact from the bottom of your feet to your shoes or your socks or the ground beneath you, and just really laying them out and taking some deep breaths. And this may already feel really grounding to you. You may already feel like your energy stabilizing and you're not in that flighty response mode. And then you might even like to visualize roots growing down from the bottom of your feet down into the earth, and really feeling that cool, calming, stabilizing, grounding energy coming back up into your body. And this is something you can do in staff meetings, on duty, while you're standing in at the front of your class teaching, grounding so that you're not feeling that flighty, anxious energy if you're in that in the moment. So those are my 3 energetic wellbeing tips: daily transition activities, get out the hypothetical popcorn, and grounding practices. And the last thing I'd like to suggest just before we finish this webinar is guiding yourself through a visualization of you showing up in this way as a teacher. So visualizing yourself waking up in the morning and doing practices that support your well-being, visualizing yourself moving throughout a school day, implementing these well-being tips, showing up in a different way, giving your colleagues permission to do the same, visualizing yourself doing a transition activity at the end of the day, and moving through your day in a way that's thriving and not just surviving. And if you can visualize that before it happens, you're more likely to embody it, and you're more likely to act in that way instead of hoping that it happens, hoping that you don't get overwhelmed, and then wondering why none of your wellbeing tips are sticking. So once you get off this webinar, you might like to find a comfortable space, take some deep breaths, and have some time visualizing what that looks like for you. So I hope all of that was really helpful for today. You have got this. It is possible for you to thrive and not just survive as a teacher. And yeah, I hope some of those practical tips resonated with you and you find them really helpful.
Thank you so much for being here, Jessica. It has been so great listening to you in this webinar, and I think that you've really given us some inspiring and energizing tips to go ahead and make these wellbeing changes to our teaching lives. So yeah, thank you so much for your wonderful presentation and excellent actionable tips. Thanks, Jess.
No worries, my pleasure.
And thanks also to you guys for being here, webinar guests. It's lovely to have you, and thank you for your fantastic interaction and engagement. Don't forget that in the comments, we have posted links to Jess's website and also to her Instagram page so that you can go and take a look for more inspiration and support there. And Jess is going to be joining me on the podcast. So make sure that you subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcasts and follow us there. Bye.
Bye.